Have you ever wondered what secrets lie behind the walls of a perfect mansion? Meet Alex Vance, a charismatic real estate magnate who, at 37, seems to have it all. A thriving business empire, a sprawling estate in the exclusive Hamptons, and a wife, Sophia, who is expecting their second child. But beneath the veneer of luxury and marital bliss, a heartbreaking betrayal is hiding. Night after night, Alex sneaks out under the cover of darkness, leaving Sophia anguished and full of suspicion. In one explosive confrontation, her worst fears become a reality. What would you do if you discovered your partner had been leading a double life for months? Join us as we discover the scandalous twists of this fascinating family drama. Alex Vance was a name that routinely appeared in finance magazines and business news. At 37, he had risen to become the CEO of the Vance Corporation, a real estate and technology conglomerate. Everyone who met Alex for the first time found him magnetic, tall, broad-shouldered, and with a confidence so practiced that you felt anything was possible if he was at the helm. Despite his public glory, Alex was, at his core, a complicated man. He was married to Sophia Jensen, his college sweetheart. Sophia, 35, was in many ways Alex's complete opposite. While he possessed that commanding aura, Sophia was gentle and unassuming, preferring quiet nights in with her family to lavish galas. Their marriage had all the makings of a timeless love story. Two brilliant students at Harvard who fell in love over study sessions and Sunday lunches. Alex's ambition propelled him through the ranks, eventually bringing him wealth beyond his wildest dreams. Meanwhile, Sophia pursued a career in early childhood education before becoming a stay-at-home mother after the birth of their daughter, Clara. Their 4-year-old daughter was a vivacious child, with Alex's mischievous smile and Sophia's soulful eyes. Clara was the light of the Vance home, a little girl with big eyes and dark, curly hair who filled every corner of the mansion with joy. Sophia loved being a mother, and 6 months pregnant with her second child, she was thrilled to give Clara a sibling. Sophia's life seemed gilded, a sprawling home in the Hamptons, doting grandparents on both sides, a loving sister named Isabella who visited often, and a circle of friends that grew every year. Yet anyone who paid attention might have noticed subtle cracks forming on the glossy surface of her life. Alex was often away on business trips, leaving Sophia alone in the immense mansion. The household staff, a nanny and a driver, took care of Sophia's daily needs, but they could never fill the emotional void that Alex left. Sophia grew accustomed to solitary dinners in a dining room meant for 20 people. The nights often became restless, anxious hours, waiting for Alex's texts, confirming he had landed safely, or that he was on a late conference call. One night, Sophia began to feel pangs of doubt. She remembered the way Alex used to look at her, as if she were his entire world. Now, however, something in his eyes had changed. They had become distant, as if part of him was perpetually somewhere else. Not even Clara's excited cries of, "Daddy's home!" ignited the same spark in him. Sophia tried to banish her suspicions. Life could be stressful for a man who controlled a multi-billion-dollar empire, she told herself. Stress did that to people. Still, every now and then, Sophia would find strange receipts in Alex's pockets from restaurants they never went to together, or she would see cryptic texts flash across his phone. This gnawed at her heart. She confronted him gently once. "Is everything okay at work? You've been tense," she said, stroking his shoulder. Alex would always dismiss it as the typical worries of a busy executive. When Alex received a call one night, and moments later, claimed an emergency midnight meeting had come up, Sophia's heart quickened. A midnight meeting in downtown NYC, so urgent that he had to leave immediately. She felt her stomach churn as she watched him go. The staff pretended not to notice anything amiss, although Sophia was aware of the hushed whispers whenever Alex embarked on these late-night escapades. She saw the looks of pity and sympathy in the maid's eyes. Something was not right, and in her gut, Sophia could feel a storm brewing. She never imagined, however, how violent that storm would be. One that would shatter her illusions of a perfect marriage and thrust her into a world of heartache, betrayal, and resilience she never thought possible. What do you think is the real reason Alex is avoiding Sophia? And would you confront your spouse directly, or would you try to find proof first? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Sophia woke up the next morning with a heavy heart. Sleep had evaded her after Alex's late-night departure. She tossed and turned in bed, feeling a dull ache in her chest. But she told herself she needed proof before making assumptions. After dropping Clara off at daycare, Sophia ventured into the dining room. The staff, too polite to show concern outright, maintained their usual deference. Alex, for his part, was not at the table. He rarely was anymore, especially on nights he worked late. Sophia forced herself to eat a piece of toast. Her stomach rebelled with morning sickness and anxiety. The pregnancy felt more overwhelming than ever, physically draining, with her back aching, her feet swelling, and her hormones making her more sensitive to every shift in Alex's behavior. That day, Sophia decided to visit her sister Isabella, who lived a short drive away. Isabella was a pragmatic soul, the type to face problems head-on, with an unshakable courage. After Sophia's driver dropped her off at Isabella's modest but cozy house, she felt her shoulders relax a little. Isabella's place was a far cry from the Vance mansion. No grand fountains or acres of manicured lawns, but it had warmth and a sense of genuine comfort. The sisters sat on a cream-colored couch, with Isabella's cat, Whiskers, perched on the backrest, its tail flicking as if sensing Sophia's tension. "Spit it out, Sophia," Isabella said, as she offered her a glass of water. "You look awful." Sophia tried to keep her voice steady, but the words came tumbling out. She told Isabella about Alex's frequent absences, the midnight phone call, the suspicious receipts. Although she had no concrete evidence, every fiber of her being screamed that Alex was up to something more than ordinary business concerns. Isabella listened, her expression grim. "Have you asked him directly?" she asked, tossing her straight black hair over her shoulder. Sophia sighed, feeling tears prick her eyes. "Yes, he always says it's work, or that I'm imagining things, and maybe I am. Maybe I'm just hormonal, but something isn't right." Isabella touched her chin thoughtfully. "You're not crazy or paranoid. You're pregnant, and you're sensitive to changes in your environment. Alex has changed, Sophia. I've seen it in the way he barely talks at family gatherings. He's always looking at his phone. You tell me you found receipts that don't make sense. You know him better than anyone. Trust your gut." While this conversation lifted a weight off Sophia's shoulders, the fact that someone believed her didn't erase the sense of dread that was washing over her. That same night, Alex returned home, close to 2 a.m, with no explanation other than long negotiations with a major international client. He shed his tailored suit and collapsed into bed, not noticing that Sophia was wide awake, silent tears streaming down her cheeks. A few nights later, Sophia's suspicions solidified. She woke up in the middle of the night to a dull hum, only to see Alex quietly slipping out of the bedroom door. The hallway lights were off, and outside, in the silvery glow of the moon, she watched from the window as Alex got into the driver's seat of his midnight blue Maserati, speeding away without so much as a glance back. That brazen departure cut Sophia's soul like a razor. She didn't even try to go back to sleep. Her mind raced, conjuring the worst possibilities. In the morning, she decided to act. Sophia called a personal contact, Detective Morales, a private investigator Isabella knew through a mutual friend. Morales had once helped Isabella when an old landlord was refusing to give back her security deposit, and he came highly recommended for his discretion and thoroughness. Sophia never thought she would stoop to hiring a detective to keep tabs on her husband, but desperation overtook her pride. When Morales arrived, Sophia asked for absolute confidentiality. She gave him the dates and times Alex tended to leave the house, and handed over photographs of Alex's Maserati and the addresses of all his offices. Morales, a stocky man with kind eyes, listened intently and asked questions that made Sophia's pulse quicken. How often does he leave at night? Have you noticed any particular pattern? Does he have a personal assistant who might be covering for him? Morales asked, scribbling notes in a small leather notebook. Sophia answered as best she could. When he was satisfied, Morales promised to begin surveillance immediately. "I understand the sensitivity of this situation," he said in a firm voice, "and I promise you that, no matter what, you will get the truth." That night, Sophia paced the floor of her bedroom, waiting for Alex to return. To her surprise, he came home at a reasonable hour. He offered no explanations, no apologies, just a tired yawn. Sophia tried to read his expression, searching for any sign of guilt or remorse, but his face was as inscrutable as a polished stone. It was chilling to her that he could be so calm. The next morning, a series of texts from Morales popped up on her phone. Each text carried an electric jolt of fear and inevitability. "I have something," one read. "I need more time to confirm," another said. Sophia could barely breathe, much less eat or focus on her prenatal care. All she could do was wait for the day Morales would present her with the evidence that would tear her marriage apart. Within a week, Detective Morales had gathered enough information to shake Sophia's already fragile world. The private investigator requested a meeting at a discreet cafe in NYC. Sophia, anxious to avoid any encounters with people who knew them, wore dark sunglasses and a navy blue dress that concealed her growing baby bump. When she slid into a corner booth, Morales was waiting for her, his face somber. "I hate to have to do this," he began, placing a thick folder on the table. "But it appears your suspicions were correct." Sophia could barely speak as she opened the folder. Inside were photos of Alex at restaurants, at a lavish apartment complex, and most heartbreakingly, kissing a woman with long, dark hair. The woman looked a few years younger than Sophia. She was tall and slender, with an impeccable sense of style. Her name, Morales revealed, was Valerie Martin. She was a marketing executive at one of Alex's subsidiaries, a budding influencer, often photographed at chic events. Sophia could only stare, tears welling up. Where were these taken?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Morales gestured to the photos. "That's a lounge in Beverly Hills, and this one here is the entrance of an apartment building in downtown NYC. From my observations, Alex has visited her place 4 times this week, always after midnight. He stays a few hours, then leaves at dawn." Sophia's stomach churned. Her eyes lingered on one particular image of Alex, holding Valerie's hand as they walked into what looked like a rooftop bar. He was smiling in a way Sophia hadn't seen in a long time, relaxed, even joyful. The pain was immediate and visceral. "I can get more details if you want," Morales offered softly. "But from a professional standpoint, you have more than enough evidence." "I'm sorry." Her throat felt raw. "No, thank you. This is enough." On the way home, Sophia wrestled with conflicting emotions. Betrayal, heartbreak, anger, and a strange, numb acceptance that all of this was, in fact, real. It was as if she had stepped outside of her own life and was watching from a distance, helpless to change what she saw. That night, Alex returned from another business meeting. Sophia confronted him in the living room, the photos scattered across the marble coffee table. He froze in the doorway. The color drained from his face. Time seemed to stand still in that moment. Clara's laughter echoed from the nursery upstairs, a gentle reminder of the life that was about to be shattered by the reality of these images. "How long?" Sophia asked, her eyes welling with tears. She could barely keep her voice steady. Alex's gaze darted away, searching for a lie, an escape, some rationalization. Finally, he let out a shaky sigh. "A few months," he admitted. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." "It wasn't supposed to happen like this?" Sophia's voice cracked. "How long have you been lying to me, sneaking out at night? Does she know I'm pregnant?" Alex ran a hand through his hair, unable to meet her gaze. "She knows," he mumbled. "It's complicated, Sophia. I was under a lot of stress. I never meant to hurt you." "You never meant to hurt me," Sophia said, her tone sharper than she had ever heard it. "You lied to me for months. You've been with another woman while I'm here, carrying your child, Alex." She had expected Alex to fall to his knees, to beg for her forgiveness, to swear it was a mistake. Instead, he offered a series of half-baked excuses. Stress, a midlife crisis, a search for excitement he felt he had lost in their relationship. Every word was like salt on an open wound. Sophia's breathing became ragged. She put a hand on her stomach, as if to protect her unborn child from the ugliness unfolding. "Get out," she whispered. Alex looked stunned, as if he hadn't anticipated her anger. "Sophia, let's talk about this. Let's work it out." She laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "Talk about what? About you sneaking out in the middle of the night to be with her? This whole pregnancy I've been suffering alone while you were having a blast from the looks of it. Go be with her if that's where you want to be. I'm done." And just like that, Alex was gone. Though not far, just to the guest house on the sprawling estate. His pride wouldn't allow him to leave the property he believed was his by right. But for Sophia, that night was the beginning of the end. The illusions were gone, and there was no more pretending Alex was simply too busy. The mistress had a name, Valerie Martin, and a face. Her husband had a secret life. What do you think is the real reason Alex is offering these excuses? And what will Sophia do now that she knows the truth? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. Sophia spent the next few days in a haze. Alex was still on the property, though confined to the guest house, and Clara was the only reason Sophia maintained any semblance of composure. Her daughter was too young to understand why Daddy was suddenly sleeping somewhere else, but she felt the tension. She asked questions with all the innocent curiosity of a child. "Did Daddy do something bad? Why aren't you having breakfast together anymore?" Sophia's heart broke every time she had to force a smile and deflect Clara's questions with, "We're just giving Daddy some space, honey." During the day, Sophia busied herself with her prenatal checkups, having lunch with Isabella, and attending to some of the philanthropic obligations she had committed to months before. At night, she would cry silently in her bedroom, replaying the last few months of her life like a broken record. She longed for the days when Alex would hold her after returning from a business trip and regale her with exciting stories of corporate deals he had closed in Tokyo. She missed the moments of spontaneous affection, the weekend getaways, the quiet afternoons they used to spend watching old black and white movies. Now, every time she saw him pass through the halls of the main house to say hello to Clara, or to take a phone call in the study, her chest would tighten. Alex seemed reluctant to pack his things and leave completely, as if staying in the guest house preserved a shred of control over his marriage and his family. Sophia was starting to realize that Alex was no longer the man she had married. He protected his reputation above all else. She suspected that for him, admitting to his family and friends that his marriage was crumbling would be a blow to his image. Maybe he also felt genuinely guilty for hurting her, but not guilty enough to leave Valerie. One afternoon, as Sophia was reading in the sunroom with Clara, she overheard Alex's voice from the hallway. He was on a phone call. She tensed, listening for the mention of Valerie. Instead, she heard him discussing a new acquisition deal with someone named Richard, one of his key business partners. The tone of Alex's voice was tense. Sophia recognized that he felt cornered, not only in his personal life, but in his professional dealings as well. Clara, oblivious to the adult drama around her, continued coloring in a notebook. Sophia wondered if the best thing for Clara would be to take her somewhere else, away from this suffocating environment. 2 days later, Alex cornered Sophia in the living room, looking oddly hesitant. The pride in his eyes had dimmed. "Sophia," he began, "I think we need to talk about how to move forward." Sophia crossed her arms protectively. "Move forward? I asked you to leave." Alex frowned, frustration flashing across his face. "Look, I can't just leave everything. I have responsibilities here. My daughter, our unborn son, and the business that's run from this property. I still love you, Sophia. Believe it or not, I do." She resisted the urge to scoff. "You love me so much, you were willing to cheat on me with another woman." His eyes flickered. I am confused. Valerie she's a distraction, an escape, but it's not that simple." Sophia closed her eyes, pinching the bridge of her nose. She could feel her baby moving inside her, a small reminder that life was still moving forward, no matter how broken she felt. "Well, to me, it's simple," she managed to say. "You made a choice. You betrayed me. Do you think I'm just going to stay here, pregnant and humiliated, so you can have your cake and eat it too? I may have once been that naive, but I'm done." Alex took a step closer, his voice shaking slightly. "I want to be involved with the baby and with Clara. I don't want to lose my kids." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. For a moment she saw a glint of sincerity in his gaze, a glimpse of the Alex she used to know. "I won't deny you your children," she whispered, "but you've already lost me." The conversation ended there, abruptly, painfully. Alex returned to the guest house, and Sophia was left alone in the mansion, which now felt like a prison. She knew the staff were whispering about the tensions, that they were casting sad glances her way as they passed. She began to pack small items, not entirely sure if she was ready to leave, but needing some sense of control. As she folded Clara's clothes and her own maternity clothes, she told herself she needed a plan, a real plan, to escape this toxic environment. What do you think is the real reason Alex wants to stay on the property? Do you believe his excuses about being confused and feeling stress are genuine? Share your thoughts in the comments below. News of Alex's affair eventually reached the ears of their families and close friends. Perhaps the staff had let something slip, or maybe Isabella had confided in a friend who confided in another, and so on. Before Sophia could contain the damage, her parents, Robert and Caroline Jensen, arrived from Miami, visibly distraught. Robert was a retired police officer, fiercely protective of his daughters. He nearly pounded on Alex's door at the guest house, demanding an explanation. Sophia had to intervene to stop her father from making the situation worse. Caroline, on the other hand, spent hours by Sophia's side, stroking her hair as she cried. Meanwhile, Alex's own parents, Nicholas and Penelope Vance, were outraged by the scandal threatening to tarnish the Vance name. While Nicholas was known for being a staunch traditionalist and a severe father, he condemned Alex's infidelity. Penelope tried to negotiate a reconciliation, her pleas delivered in a voice trembling with repressed fury. For the Vances, the facade of perfection mattered above all else, and Alex's affair with an employee was the worst public relations nightmare. In the midst of these family confrontations, Valerie Martin made her presence known in the media. A few paparazzi photos appeared online, catching Alex and Valerie in NYC, further fueling the rumors of his extramarital escapades. Sophia would cringe every time she saw Valerie's name or face on social media, often accompanied by salacious gossip columns speculating on Alex's loyalty to his wife. The headlines were as sensational as they were cruel. Is Alex Vance trading his marriage for a younger flame, or abandoned pregnant wife? The Vance scandal deepens. What pained Sophia the most, however, was Alex's lukewarm defense of her. The press releases from Vance Corporation simply read, "We do not comment on personal matters," while Alex's own social media remained filled with carefully curated photos of corporate events and philanthropic initiatives, nothing to indicate the turmoil at home. Sophia's only solace came from Clara, who remained blissfully unaware of the complexities and cruelty of adult life. Every night, as Sophia tucked Clara into bed, she would read her a fairy tale or sing her a lullaby, hoping to preserve this fleeting innocence for as long as possible. But the suffocating tension was taking a toll on Sophia's health. At her next prenatal checkup, her doctor expressed concern about her elevated blood pressure and advised her to minimize stress. "You need to rest, Mrs. Vance," Dr. Sanchez said kindly, adjusting the stethoscope around her neck. "Stress can lead to complications." Sophia forced a smile. She wanted to laugh at the absurdity of the advice. How could she rest when her world was falling apart? Upon returning home from the clinic, she found Alex pacing in the foyer, a scowl on his handsome features. "We need to talk," he said gruffly. "I am not in the mood to hear your excuses," Sophia replied, sidestepping him. Alex put a hand on her arm, a touch that made her skin prickle with conflicting feelings. "It's about the Vance Corporation Board of Directors. They're concerned this scandal will harm our image. They want me to address the rumors publicly." Sophia stared at him, her gaze sharp. "So now you care about how this looks to everyone else? You didn't care when you started sneaking out to see Valerie, but you care now that your precious empire is threatened." He exhaled. The frustration was palpable. "Do you think I'm proud of what I've done? I made a mistake." "A mistake?" Sophia cut in. "Sneaking out, night after night, sleeping with the same woman for months. That's not a mistake. That's a choice." He opened his mouth to argue, but no words came out. Sophia moved past him. Heading up the stairs, she felt an intense wave of dizziness. Her blood pressure was spiking. Clinging to the railing, she forced herself to calm her heart. Stress was the last thing she needed at that moment. As the days wore on, the stalemate continued. Alex remained on the property, while Sophia locked herself in her bedroom, trying to shield Clara from the drama. The tension boiled over when, one night, Sophia overheard Alex's voice drifting up from the living room. She went out to investigate and found him arguing with Valerie on the phone. The fury in his tone took her by surprise. "I told you this is complicated," he yelled, pacing back and forth. "I can't just announce our relationship to the world, especially now. My family, my wife, they're in a tailspin." A cold realization washed over Sophia. Alex was torn between preserving his carefully crafted public image, trying to keep the mother of his children from leaving, and appeasing Valerie, whose ambitions were clearly overshadowing her discretion. Sophia let out a bitter laugh. The man she once believed was her rock had become a stranger, trapped in a web of his own weaving. She quietly backed away from the living room and went to Clara's room, where her daughter was sleeping soundly, dreaming peacefully. That night, as she watched her daughter's serene face, Sophia resolved she had reached her breaking point. Her baby would be born in a few months, and she refused to bring another life into this oppressive environment. She would leave, with or without Alex's blessing. The time had come to protect herself and her children. What do you think is the most painful part of this betrayal for Sophia? Is it Alex's infidelity, or his inability to truly stand by her? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The next morning, Sophia woke up with a sense of grim determination. She called her parents and her sister, explaining that she intended to leave Alex, at least for a while, and that she needed a stable place to stay. Isabella immediately offered her home, but Sophia worried that her sister's two-bedroom bungalow might be too small with a newborn on the way. Her parents, on the other hand, had a larger residence in Miami, enough space for Sophia and her children to find sanctuary until she decided her next steps. Sophia gathered documents, her marriage certificate, Clara's birth certificate, her medical records, and enough clothing for herself and Clara to last a few weeks. She also pulled a small suitcase of baby items she had been collecting in anticipation of the new arrival. Tiny onesies, soft blankets, some plush toys. The act of packing these innocent objects for a child about to be born into such turmoil broke her heart. To her surprise, Alex was not at the guest house that morning. A staff member informed her he had left early for an urgent meeting. Sophia suppressed a joyless laugh. Alex probably had no idea his wife was about to leave for good. Maybe he had gone to Valerie's apartment, or maybe he truly had a business emergency. Either way, Sophia didn't care. By mid-afternoon, Sophia's plan was in motion. She and Clara would be traveling to Miami with Isabella, who had come over as soon as she received Sophia's call. Just as they were loading the suitcases into Isabella's car, Alex's sleek Maserati pulled up. He got out, alarm flashing on his face as he saw his wife and daughter preparing to depart. "What's going on?" he demanded, running over to intercept her. "Where are you taking Clara?" Sophia motioned for Clara to get into the car first, not wanting her daughter to witness the ugliness of this confrontation. Then she straightened her shoulders and looked Alex in the eye. "I'm leaving," she stated, every syllable ringing with finality. "I need space. I can't do this anymore, Alex." Panic flickered in his gaze. "You can't just take my daughter away from me. We need to talk about custody, about living arrangements." She shook her head. "We won't be talking about anything until I'm in a place where I'm not drowning in heartache. You can talk to my lawyer if you want to, but for now, Clara and I are leaving." She placed a protective hand over her belly. "And this baby is coming with me." Alex stepped closer, forcing her to look into those eyes that had once held love for her. "Sophia, I know I've been an idiot. I'm trying to work things out. Don't do anything rash." "Rash?" She almost laughed. "This is months, maybe years of betrayal, Alex. Months of secrets, and late-night rendezvous. I gave you my heart, my trust, and you spit on it. I no longer care about your confusion. I care about the well-being of my children." He struggled to find the right words, and for a second, Sophia thought she saw tears glistening in his eyes. But the memory of him kissing Valerie outside that apartment building flashed in her mind, and her resolve hardened. Alex reached out to hold her, but she pulled away. "Let's be civilized for Clara's sake," she said softly. "But I will not be disrespected. I need time to heal and to decide how to move forward." With that, she got into the passenger seat next to Isabella. Alex was left standing frozen, his hands clenched at his sides. Sophia refused to look at him as they drove away, focusing instead on Clara's angelic face in the rearview mirror. The little girl was humming a nursery rhyme, oblivious to the life-changing decision her mother had just made. Sophia's heart pounded with a mix of fear, sadness, and a hint of relief. She was stepping into the unknown, cutting ties with the life she had painstakingly built with Alex. But she was also freeing herself from the shackles of betrayal. In that moment, she promised herself she would do whatever it took to protect her children, even if it meant starting over completely. What do you think will happen now that Sophia has left? And do you believe Alex will try to fight for his family, or will he choose his pride and reputation instead? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Arriving at her parents' home in Miami felt like stepping into another world. The house was a cozy, single-story suburban dwelling with a well-tended garden. Robert and Caroline Jensen welcomed Sophia with open arms, leading her to the guest room they had prepared. Clara shrieked with delight at the sight of a basket full of toys and coloring books her grandparents had set out, a thoughtful effort to make her feel at home. Despite her parents' warm hospitality, Sophia felt a rush of conflicting emotions the moment she unpacked her bags. She sank onto the bed, pressing a hand against her belly and fighting the urge to cry. She was grateful to have a safe place, but also flooded with an overwhelming sense of failure. This wasn't the life she had imagined. Married to a successful man, raising her children in a mansion, only to end up back in her childhood home, heartbroken and adrift. Isabella, seeing Sophia's distress, gently closed the bedroom door behind them. "Hey," she said, sitting next to her sister. "You're not alone, Sophia. Mom and Dad have your back. I have your back, and you're doing the right thing for Clara and the baby." Sophia nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "I just never thought I'd be in this position. Alex and I built a life together. Part of me still can't believe I left." Isabella placed a comforting hand on Sophia's shoulder. "You had to. You weren't safe there, emotionally, psychologically, and the baby needs a stress-free environment." That afternoon, Sophia spoke privately with her father. Robert, with his gruff exterior, tried to keep his anger at Alex in check. He offered something Sophia hadn't expected: legal advice. "I have a friend, Mark Bennett," Robert said in a calm, measured tone. "He's a family law attorney here in Miami. He'll help you navigate custody, financial support, all of it." Sophia's head spun. She had never considered how complicated a potential separation or divorce might be. "Alex might fight me," she said in a low voice. "Not because he wants me, but because he won't let his public image take a hit. He'll try to turn the situation around, or he might just try to overwhelm me with expensive lawyers." Her father's jaw tightened. "Then we'll be ready. You're our daughter. I'll do everything in my power to protect you." With her parents' encouragement, Sophia got in touch with Mark Bennett and set up an initial consultation. Over the phone, Mark provided her with a list of documents she would need for a potential custody and divorce case. Financial records, bank statements, property deeds, prenuptial agreements, if there were any. Sophia realized she barely knew the full extent of Alex's holdings. The man had his wealth tied up in numerous corporate entities. The task of untangling the finances seemed overwhelming. But Sophia pushed through. She had no other choice now. In the meantime, Clara adjusted surprisingly well to her new surroundings. Perhaps it was the novelty of living with doting grandparents, or maybe the innocence of youth made transitions easier. Every night, Clara would insist Sophia read her the same picture book, Goodnight Moon, just as they used to do in the Hamptons. The routine was a comforting reminder that some parts of her life remained intact. As the days stretched into a week, Alex's calls became more frequent. Sophia, with her doctor's guidance, had decided to block out stress and negativity as much as possible, but she did allow Clara to speak to her father via video call. She watched from a distance as Clara chatted excitedly about her new bedroom and the fun she was having with Grandpa Robert. Alex made several attempts to speak to Sophia directly, but she remained firm. She would only communicate with him via text or email about matters related to Clara's well-being. Still, curiosity plagued her. She felt compelled to check social media for any sign of Alex or Valerie, but she resisted the urge, knowing it would only open fresh wounds. One afternoon, Sophia received an unexpected call from an old friend, Lucy White, who worked in media relations for one of Alex's philanthropic initiatives. "Hi, Sophia," Lucy said with hesitation. "I just wanted you to know there have been whispers that Alex and Valerie appeared together at a gala event last night. Photos are circulating. I'm so sorry." Sophia swallowed, her heart squeezed. She thanked Lucy for letting her know. Although she had left Alex, hearing that he was gallivanting with Valerie so openly still hurt. She tried to focus on her new reality, preparing for the baby, making sure Clara remained carefree, and forging a path forward with legal counsel. Yet Alex's presence loomed like a storm cloud, threatening to rain at any moment. What do you think is Sophia's biggest challenge right now? And what will it take for her to move on and fully embrace her new life? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. 2 weeks after arriving in Miami, Sophia met with Mark Bennett in person. He was a tall, soft-spoken man who exuded competence and empathy. They sat in his tastefully decorated office, with a bookshelf of law books towering behind him. Sophia clutched a folder containing the documents she managed to bring from the mansion. Given the evidence of infidelity, Mark began, scanning the folder. "We could file for divorce on the grounds of adultery, but Florida is a no-fault divorce state, so the affair won't necessarily grant you a better settlement on that basis alone, although it could factor into spousal support and custody considerations, especially if Alex's behavior affects the children's well-being." Sophia nodded, feeling a surge of nerves. Alex is a millionaire, possibly a billionaire if you consider the entire conglomerate. I don't want to be greedy, but I need enough for Clara's future and the new baby. Mark removed his reading glasses and leaned forward. "That's understandable. Let's start by filing for financial disclosures. The law will require Alex to provide details on all his assets, income, and debts. As for custody, we'll propose a parenting plan that prioritizes the best interest of your children." She took a deep breath. "He'll fight it. He won't let me go easily. His pride, well, you know how he is with powerful men." Mark offered her a reassuring smile. "We'll handle it. In the meantime, you focus on your health and your pregnancy. Leave the legal complexities to me." That night, Sophia lay awake in bed, contemplating the enormity of her decision. She felt she was entering a battlefield where Alex would have every advantage: wealth, connections, a polished public image. But she also knew she was doing the right thing. Her children deserved a mother who was whole, not shattered by betrayal. Alex's reaction to the legal papers came swiftly. A week after filing the claim, Sophia received a barrage of texts from him that swung from rage to remorse. 1 minute, he was lashing out, accusing her of overreacting, and the next, he was begging for another chance. She found it increasingly difficult to navigate his emotional shifts. During a video call with Clara, Alex requested to speak with Sophia directly. She hesitated, but agreed. Alex's face filled the screen, a mixture of desperation and frustration etched into his features. "How can you drag us to court?" he demanded. His voice trembled with barely contained anger. "We have a daughter together and another on the way. We should work this out amicably. Do you want Clara to grow up in a broken home?" Sophia's cheeks flushed with fury. "It was already broken when you decided to have an affair. I'm not the one who destroyed our marriage, Alex. We tried to talk, but you never left Valerie. Don't you dare blame me for doing what I have to do." He ran a hand over his face, sighing. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under. The business is in a precarious position. The board is on edge about the scandal. I'm trying to keep everything from falling apart." Sophia couldn't help the bitter laugh that escaped her. "And what do you think I'm doing, Alex? I'm pregnant, alone, and trying to build a life for our children away from the chaos you created." They stared at each other across the screen. The silence crackled with unresolved tension. Finally, Alex hung up the call abruptly, leaving Sophia shaking. She had once seen Alex as her knight in shining armor. Now he was a man desperate to control a narrative he could no longer manage. The weeks stretched into months, and Sophia's pregnancy advanced. Each day brought new challenges: legal depositions, communication through lawyers, and the emotional toll of breaking a marriage she had nurtured for almost a decade. Yet, amidst the turmoil, Sophia found unexpected sources of strength. She began to reconnect with old friends in Miami and to volunteer at a local community center her mother frequented. Though heavily pregnant, she helped organize reading programs for children and basic childcare, finding solace in the laughter of kids. It reminded her of the fulfilling work she once pursued as a teacher. Sophia also found support in a small prenatal yoga group. There she met women from all walks of life, each with her own burden. Single mothers, working mothers, older first-time mothers. These connections allowed Sophia to share her story and hear the experiences of others, breaking the isolation she had felt for months. When she confided in a fellow mother-to-be named Lucy about Alex's affair and their ongoing legal battle, Lucy squeezed her hand warmly. "You will get through this," she said with a supportive smile. "Your baby will be all the stronger for having a mother who refused to be broken." Days before her due date, Sophia received a call from Mark Bennett. "Good news," he said, sounding relieved. "Alex's team has submitted an offer for a provisional custody and support agreement. It's not final, but it appears he's willing to cooperate, at least financially." Sophia's hand trembled slightly as she held the phone. "That's progress. They're suggesting joint legal custody for Clara, with you retaining primary physical custody. Alex wants visitation rights, which can be worked out on weekends or through scheduled visits in Miami. He has also agreed to cover all of your medical costs for the pregnancy, plus child support. The final settlement will require more negotiation, but this is a positive step." Tears of relief welled up in her eyes. It was far from perfect. An entire labyrinth of legalities still awaited her. But at least for now, Alex was acknowledging his responsibilities. Sophia felt a glimmer of hope that, if nothing else, he would remain a present father to Clara and the baby. That night, she told her parents what had transpired. Robert nodded solemnly, offering a rare smile. "Even if Alex is doing it to save face or to appease his board, it's good for you and the children." Sophia couldn't argue with that. A sense of cautious optimism settled over her, even as she braced for the emotional trials of giving birth without a husband by her side. She allowed herself a small spark of happiness, imagining the moment she would hold her newborn in her arms, free from the lies that had once strangled her spirit. A night, just a few days before her scheduled due date, Sophia's phone rang. It was Alex. She hesitated, her heart racing, but answered. "I'm in Miami," he said, "at a hotel near your parents' house. I need to see you, please." Sophia's mind raced. "Why?" she asked, clutching the phone tighter. "I need to apologize, properly." Against her better judgment, she agreed to meet him at a neutral location, a nearby cafe that closed late. It was a short drive from her parents' house, and though she was heavily pregnant, she felt she needed this one last face-to-face conversation before the baby arrived. She found Alex already seated at a corner table, nursing a cup of coffee. He stood up quickly when she walked in, offering to help her into a seat. Sophia refused, carefully lowering herself into a chair. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. She noticed Alex looked thinner, with dark circles under his eyes. Finally, he cleared his throat. "Sophia, you look ready to pop," he said awkwardly, a half smile on his lips. She pursed her lips. "I am due any day now." He exhaled, fidgeting with his coffee cup. "Listen, I am sorry for everything I have done. I know that sounds hollow right now, but I need you to know I regret hurting you." Sophia's eyes shimmered with tears she refused to shed. "What do you want from me, Alex?" He swallowed. Valerie and I are finished. I ended it a few weeks ago. I realized I was using her as an escape from my problems, and it wasn't fair to anyone involved." Sophia raised an eyebrow. "And what? You want a medal? You chose her over me when it mattered." A flicker of pain crossed his face. "I deserve that. But this isn't just about guilt. I still love you, Sophia. I'm sorry it took all this mess for me to see how much I was losing." She felt a pang in her chest, a faint echo of the love she had once professed. "What you're losing," she repeated, her voice shaking. "Sometimes we break things so badly they can't be fixed, Alex. Love alone isn't enough when there is no trust." He reached across the table, hesitating before resting a hand on hers. "Sophia, I don't expect you to take me back, but please, let me be there for you, for the baby. Let me at least try to make things right." For a long moment, Sophia looked at him, memories flashing by, their wedding day under the Spanish sun, Clara's birth, the nights they spent dreaming of a future they would build together. Alex's betrayal had tainted those memories, but it hadn't erased them entirely. She gently pulled her hand away. "I'm glad you're taking responsibility," she said, "but I'm not ready to forgive you. I don't know if I ever will. What I do know is that our children deserve a father who is present and honest. For their sake, I'm willing to come to a civil agreement." Alex nodded, tears glistening in his eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. They parted that night with a quiet understanding that their relationship had irrevocably changed. 2 days later, Sophia went into labor in the early morning hours. She was rushed to the hospital with her parents by her side. The contractions seized her in waves of pain. The staff prepared her room, and her sister Isabella arrived shortly after, offering comforting words and a steady presence. In the midst of labor, Sophia held on to Isabella's hand. Sweat beaded her forehead. She cried out as each contraction hit, the physical pain mixed with the emotional intensity of this pivotal moment. After hours of labor, Sophia gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The wave of relief and love that filled her was overwhelming. In that instant, her heartbreak took a back seat to the fierce protectiveness and devotion she felt for this tiny new life. The news reached Alex, who burst into the hospital, breathless and disheveled, shortly after the baby was born. Sophia was exhausted, still in the delivery room, cradling her newborn. When Alex silently walked in, he paused in the doorway, tears once again welling in his eyes. Sophia studied his expression, seeing a raw vulnerability she hadn't seen in years. With a tentative nod, she allowed Alex to approach. He came to the side of the bed and looked at his son. Awe and regret washed over his face. Carefully, she allowed him to hold the baby for a moment. In that silent, fragile truce, both parents acknowledged the new life they had created, the bond that would forever tie them together, even if their marriage was fractured beyond repair. Sophia took a shaky breath. She didn't know what the future held, whether they would finalize the divorce, or if Alex would truly change. But for now, she focused on what mattered most, her children's health and her own newfound resolve. She had walked away from a mansion and a lifestyle many dreamed of, but she had also escaped a web of lies, and in her arms, she held a reason to believe that better days were ahead. Thank you for joining us on this emotional roller coaster of love, betrayal, and resilience. Sophia's story proves that even in the face of heartbreak, a person can find the strength to stand up for herself and protect what truly matters: family, self-worth, and emotional well-being. We witnessed how a woman reclaimed her independence, seeking refuge with her loved ones and rebuilding her life while preparing to welcome a new child. Alex's actions serve as a reminder that trust, once broken, is difficult to mend. Yet in the darkest of moments, there can still be glimmers of redemption and hope for change. If you found Sophia's story compelling and inspiring, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories of resilience, courage, and empowerment to life. Stay tuned for our next story, and never forget, true strength is often born from life's most difficult trials.